The wind held across the plains like a lonely ghost that had never found rest. Dust devils danced in the dying light as the sun bled into the horizon, painting the ranch in shades of golden rust. The creak of the wooden gate echoed through the silence when she stepped off the stagecoach, the woman wrapped in worn lace and worry. Her name was Clara Dane. Her eyes carried the look of someone who had seen too much, loved too little, and trusted no one. When she saw the man waiting for her, tall, broad-shouldered, with a dusted hat tilted low and a scar cutting down his cheek, her heart stumbled in her chest. He tipped his hat slightly. "You must be Miss Dane." She hesitated, clutching her carpet bag. "And you must be Mr. Holt, Elias Holt," he said. His voice was low, like thunder about to break. "Welcome to Dry Creek Ranch." She nodded, but there was no warmth in it. The air between them crackled with something sharp, not attraction, not yet, but recognition of danger. As he led her toward the wagon, she said softly, almost to herself, "You'll regret choosing me." He paused, one boot on the step, and looked back at her. His lips curved into something between a smirk and a promise. "Darlin'," he said, "I already regret waiting this long." The ranch was a lonely sprawl of land, framed by a split rail fence and guarded by the endless desert. The wind never stopped. It whistled through the cracks of the house, through the bones of the old barn, through the empty nights where coyotes cried to the moon. Elias had built it with his own hands, and it showed. Everything was sturdy, simple, and built to last. Everything except maybe him. He watched Clara unpack her things in the small room off the kitchen. Her movements were slow, careful. She'd placed a small photograph on the nightstand, a boy's face, maybe 10 years old, smiling awkwardly at the camera. She caught Elias looking and turned the photo face down. "Your son?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer right away. "Was," she said finally. He nodded once, understanding more than she said. "I'm sorry." Clara didn't look at him. "Don't be. He's better off than I ever was." Days passed with the rhythm of ranch life. Sunrises that burned orange, long hours of work, and nights that fell silent too soon. Clara worked hard, surprising the men with her grit. She fixed fences, hauled water, cooked, and mended like she'd been born to it. But her eyes never softened. She never laughed. The ranch hands whispered about her. "Pretty thing," one said, "but there's something wrong in them eyes." "She's hiding from someone," another guessed. "She's the mail-order bride Holt sent for, ain't she?" "Yeah," said the first man, spitting into the dust. "But he ain't touched her yet." Strange for a man like him. They didn't see Elias watching from the barn doorway. He didn't correct them. He didn't explain that what existed between him and Clara wasn't something a man rushed. It was something too brittle, too dangerous, to touch before he was ready. That night, the thunder rolled in. Elias was sitting by the fire when Clara came in from the porch, soaked to the skin. Her hair clung to her face, and her hands trembled slightly. "Storms break in fences," she said. "One of the horses got spooked." He stood. "Which one?" "Black mare, the wild one." Without another word, he grabbed his coat and went into the rain. She followed him before she realized what she was doing. The storm was a beast. Wind clawed at their faces, lightning split the sky. They found the mare trapped against the broken fence, kicking wildly. Clara didn't hesitate. She slipped into the mud, speaking softly to the animal, moving slow. Elias watched her, thunder lighting her face in flashes. Calm, fearless, beautiful in the way wild things are before they run. When they finally freed the horse, Clara's sleeve ripped, revealing the scar on her arm, thin, pale, long-heeled but unmistakable. A knife wound. Elias didn't say a word until they were back in the barn, dripping water onto the hay. "Who gave you that?" he asked quietly. She looked up sharply. "Does it matter?" "It does to me." Her voice broke for the first time. "Then don't ask. If you want to keep your peace, don't ask." But peace was something Elias Holt had never known. Days turned into weeks. Clara's past hovered between them like smoke. One evening, she sat on the porch as the sunset bled red across the sky. Elias joined her, a cup of coffee in hand. For a while, neither spoke. Finally, he said, "You keep looking over your shoulder, like someone's following." She flinched slightly. "Maybe someone is." He turned to face her. "Tell me, Clara." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, but her voice was steady. "I was married once, to a man named Wade Turner. He was a gambler, mean when he drank. I ran after she stopped, shaking her head. I took my boy and ran. He found us in Abilene. Shot my boy by mistake trying to shoot me. The silence was deafening. I killed him, she whispered, with his own knife. Then I ran again. Elias stared at her, his jaw tightening. He didn't flinch, didn't move. Finally, he said, "Then you did what needed doing." She looked at him like she didn't believe what she'd heard. "You're not afraid of me?" He gave a slow half smile. "Afraid, darling, I've seen men die for less noble reasons. You did right by yourself. You did right by your boy." Her voice trembled. "You don't know what it's like to live with that." He reached out, brushed a strand of wet hair from her face. "You'd be surprised what I know. That night, they didn't touch, but something changed. Clara stopped sleeping with her boots by the door. Elias stopped keeping his rifle under his pillow. The house felt less haunted. Until the morning they found the tracks. 3 sets of boot prints, leading to the barn, then away. Someone had been there during the night. Elias crouched by the prints, his face hardening. They came looking for something. Clara's face drained of color. "Or someone, Wade's men?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "He ran with a gang once. Said if I ever crossed him, they'd finish what he started." Elias rose, eyes cold as steel. "Then let him come, That night, they came. 4 men rode under the cover of darkness, faces hidden, guns ready. They thought they'd find a frightened woman and a lone rancher asleep in his bed. They were wrong. When the first man kicked the door open, Elias was already waiting, rifle leveled. The blast shook the walls. 1 man fell, another ducked, firing wild. Clara grabbed the shotgun from the mantel. Her hands didn't shake this time. She fired once, twice, and 1 more man went down in the doorway. The thunder of hooves echoed outside. The last man turned to run, but Elias caught him by the collar and slammed him against the wall. "Who sent you?" Elias snarled. The man spat blood. "Wade Turner's brother. Said the woman owed him." Elias's fist connected with his jaw. "She don't owe nobody." When it was over, the ranch smelled of gunpowder and rain. Clara sat on the floor, shaking, tears cutting through the dust on her cheeks. Elias knelt beside her. "I told you," she whispered brokenly, "you'd regret choosing me." He touched her chin, forced her to look at him. His eyes burned with something fierce and unbreakable. "I already regret waiting this long," he said softly. "To find you, Days later, the sheriff came and hauled away the bodies. No questions were asked. The West had its own kind of justice. Clara stood on the porch, watching the horizon as the lawman rode off. The sky was white and merciless, but for the first time in years, she didn't feel trapped under it. Elias came up behind her, his hand finding hers. "You could go," he said quietly. "Stagecoach leaves tomorrow." She looked up at him. "You want me to?" He hesitated. "I want you safe." "I am safe," she said simply. "Here." He nodded once, eyes softening. "Then stay." She smiled faintly, the first true smile he'd ever seen on her. "You'll regret that too." He leaned close, his voice a whisper in her ear. "Darling, I don't mind regret, long as you're beside me when it comes. As the weeks turned to months, the ghost of fear faded. The house filled with laughter, slow and cautious at first, then brighter, freer. The ranch hands stopped whispering and started tipping their hats to Clara with respect. Every night, Elias would sit by the fire, Clara's head resting against his shoulder, and think about the storm that had brought her to him. She wasn't his mail-order bride. She was the woman who had fought hell and walked away alive. And he loved her for it. One night, as the crickets sang outside and the fire burned low, she looked up at him. "Do you ever think about what might have been if we'd met before all the hurt?" He smiled, rough and gentle all at once. "Wouldn't have worked." "Why not?" "Because you wouldn't have needed me," he said. "And I wouldn't have known how to deserve you." She pressed her forehead to his chest, whispering, "You already do." The West was never kind, but somehow, they made a home in it. 2 broken souls who refused to stay broken. Sometimes, when the wind howled across the plains, Clara would remember the warning she'd given him that first day, "You'll regret choosing me." And sometimes, when the nights were too still and the fire too soft, Elias would murmur against her hair, "I already regret waiting this long." Out there in the endless wild, under a sky too vast to hold their past, regret had turned to redemption. And for the first time, neither of them was running anymore.